afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Take Two Radio. This is Pam, your host, and I also have with me today my two co-hosts. I have David, and I have Dawn. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Pam.
I thought you guys left me for a second there. But tonight we welcome actor and musician Ryan-Carnes. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. And now you can take a break from cleaning and straightening out your office so you can chat with us.
Yeah. It's you make me sound so boring. Although that is the truth. That is what I've been doing today.
Well, everybody deserves a break or to do what they want on a Sunday. So
that's
you're
right.
entitled. You know, you go all week long and even on Saturday. So Sunday you get to just kick back and do whatever.
True. It's got to be done sometime. So
right.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, who else is going to do it?
That's right.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Well, not, of course, when you were born, but what did you dream of being as a child?
Oh, wow, great question. As a child, I think first and foremost I wanted to be a professional basketball player. And then maybe at some point a professional baseball player, but I think always basketball. Up until reality sort of set in around high school, that I realized that even though I was a starter on my varsity team, I realized that I did not have the skills to pay the bills as an NBA player. I did not have the height, and I did not have the skills. So I think around that time I went through all these phases. It was first, I think it was like doctor, then it was lawyer, and then it was doctor again, and then it was lawyer, and that's finally what I went to college for. I went to Duke University to study pre-law, and I had planned to go to law school after that, and obviously that did not happen.
Well, I mean, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing, that's all that matters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine being a lawyer. No offense to any lawyers who are listening, but yeah. I personally think I think I would have been miserable in any sort of job with regular hours, and I need more variety in my life than that. So it all worked out.
That's great. Now, speaking of Duke University, I read something that just cracked me up, that you were a member of DUM. And I thought, okay, I've heard of Mensa, but what the heck is DUM? And so then I found out that you were a member of Duke University Marching Band, and that just was so funny to me.
Well, Ryan, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and say that I think Pam told you that I'm in North Carolina, so I'm a huge Tar Heels fan. Of course, do not hang up now, being that you are a Duke alum. I would just tell you that this is the first time in my life that I have ever heard the Duke Blue Devils referred to as dumb. And as a Tar Heel fan, I am loving it.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Yeah.
It's that's funny. You said you'd heard of Mensa but never DUM. I was going to say DUM is actually the sister or the brother fraternity of Mensa.
Oh.
But no, not exactly. Yeah, no, I thought it was really funny when I got to Duke and I joined the marching band and I found out that we were known as DUM, affectionately known as DUM, of course.
That's hysterical. I mean, who came up with that acronym? I mean, I understand that it's each letter of that, but still to be known as that's pretty funny. You probably had to do a lot of explaining.
Yeah, well, it lets you know that we didn't take ourselves too seriously, and I can tell you from my experience, I was only in 1 year. I didn't do it my sophomore year. But from my experience in the marching band, we definitely did not take ourselves very seriously, for sure. We were not performing in any Rose Bowl parades, that's for sure.
Well, the one thing I want to ask you is in the time that you were at Duke, what was that experience like for you? Because I'm sure, there was no way you could have avoided the whole Duke-Carolina rivalry, during that time. But just being, and all kidding aside, Duke is an awesome university, and, I have the utmost respect for Coach K and for their, what they do over there, although it is fun to have fun with them. So,
I understand. It's all fun and games. It's all right.
Oh, yes, definitely. And so what was your experience? How did you end up in the marching band when you went to Duke?
Well, I'll start with that. I ended up in the marching band just really because it was sort of logical for me. I'd been playing the drums since I was 6, and in junior high and high school, I was in the jazz band, the marching band, the pep band, pretty much every band there was. I was in it, and I loved it. I love music, and that was a really big part of my life. And so when I went to Duke, I thought, well, there's no way that I'm going to make it on the basketball team here, so I'm going to have to settle for the marching band. But part of the appeal, and this is part of the appeal of everybody who's in the marching band at Duke, is that at Duke, in order to get into the because for the people who know, and then the people who don't know, Duke's basketball program is an amazing draw for the university. They're usually a top 10 program every single year, and it's a major part of the culture there. So everybody, and the stadium there, by the way, is really small. Everybody wants to go to the games. It's really hard to get in, but if you are in the pep band, obviously you get in because the pep band plays at every home game. However, in order to be in the pep band, you have to be in the marching band. Because if they didn't have that rule, nobody would be in the marching band and everybody would just be in the pep band. So the punishment, and Duke's football team has been the butt of a lot of jokes for a long time, and they finally made it to a bowl this year. But so part of the deal was if you want to go to the basketball games, you've got to go suffer through the football games. And so I made that deal, and it was a blast going to all the basketball games my freshman year. It was just an absolute blast, and by doing that, I didn't have to camp out like all the rest of the students just to try to get into the game.
Yeah, and my son, he's 17. He's actually about to graduate from high school, but he's been in band all 4 years of marching band, and he's a drummer too. So he's always played the quints in the marching band in high school, and music is in his veins, man. It just runs deep, and so and he's actually going to a Christian university next year, but they do have a band, so he's pretty excited about that.
Oh, that's
great.
I
know what you mean. The whole Duke. Of course, Carolina this year, with all their drama going on with, the whole academic deal and the scandals and everything, it's just, it's kind of put a dark shadow on the academic program, although they're doing okay, but still they've had better years, and it's just, to be a Carolina fan right now, it's just not a good thing. but I feel you on the whole, Duke football, thing, because they've never had, like a really good football program. But yeah, it's worth it if you can just get through the sluggishness of that season. Basketball season is coming. You can rest assured that they will make up for what they lack elsewhere. So, but they have a great program regardless. I have to give them that.
Well, thank you.
Was that when you got into music, when you started over there at Duke, or was that before that?
No, it was much before. I started from a really early age. I guess I had the proclivity to beat on things, and so when I was
at least it wasn't beating on people. Yeah, exactly.
Well, fortunately I didn't have any siblings, so that wasn't a problem. But my parents, I think when I was like 3 or 4, they got me a toy drum set because they just sort of knew that would probably be a good thing for me. And so I loved it. I played it all the time until the neighbor boys actually broke it. They broke the paper drum heads on my toy drum set.
Aww.
And yeah, that was a big disaster. So I think then when I was 6, my mom said, okay, you can start taking drum lessons if you want to. So I started taking drum lessons, and the deal was if I started on the concert snare and continued my drum lessons and showed commitment, then I could get a drum set sometime down the road. So then, I don't know, maybe when I was 8 or so, I got my first drum set, like real drum set, and continued and just loved it, and music was, especially in high school, because I went through some pretty unhappy times in high school, and music was just a really big part of my life. And, and I know a lot of kids say this, music sort of helped me get through some of those times. So,
right.
Yeah.
Can you sing?
Yes. I only hesitated because I didn't used to be able to, but I've been taking voice lessons for about a year and a half now, I think.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I'm actually like, it's really fun because just in the last 3 months or so, I've had a lot of growth and a lot of progress, and it's actually like I'm not fearful of really singing anymore. Like in acting class the other night, I actually had to sing at the beginning of a scene, and for the first time ever, I had no fear about singing in front of the class. It was cool.
Well, if you had not pursued acting, do you think you would have pursued music as your career choice?
Wow. I think I probably would have ended up there somehow. I hope. It seems like looking back, if I hadn't pursued acting, I would have probably continued on the trajectory that I was on and would have gone to law school. And then, I guess it would have depended on how long it took me to realize I was unhappy doing that. And then, then at that point I might have turned to music. Because, right now, the only thing that I can ever imagine myself doing other than acting or writing or directing, something in that field, it would be music. That's the only other thing that I really could imagine myself doing. So.
Okay. Who were your idols growing up, music or drama or otherwise?
Well, Michael Jordan. I was a massive Michael Jordan fan. I had posters of his everywhere, and I tried to make sure I got every new pair of Jordans that came out when I was a kid. And beyond that,
I have to laugh because all kids do that. So
yeah. Well, he's a pretty impactful character in our society, in our culture, I guess. But beyond Michael Jordan, I would have to say, musically, Eddie Vedder. Once I found out who Pearl Jam was and got into Pearl Jam. I was really into Guns N' Roses' first album, though I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I wouldn't say that Axl Rose was like an idol of mine, but thank God. But definitely in music, definitely Eddie Vedder, and I got into Led Zeppelin pretty early on. So John Bonham as a drummer, wow! He's incredible, and there's never been anyone else like him, and there probably never will be, in a sense. And in terms of acting, I was late. Like, I watched a lot of movies as a kid, I think, but I didn't realize, like, I didn't start looking up to certain actors until much later on, and my first memory of being really affected and being really touched by a movie was when I watched the movie Sling Blade. You guys know that movie?
Oh, yeah.